What's up, guys? It's the nope. It's not power rankings. We're just talking for a while. Blaze, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, this is Blaze Ugly Scorim here, and I'm with Xantos1159, and we are the best analyst crew in the whole of the internet. So let's get right into the news.
You didn't tell me an actual intro plan. You said say whatever popped in my head.
Okay, let's go.
All right. First up, Colorado Rockruffs. Oh, and by the way, we're gonna start with the Jolteon division because fuck the Patch Rats.
+1.
It's the Jolteons.
Okay, so this guy has Kieran Black, Nidoqueen, Reuniclus, Porygon 2, Mantine, Galvantula, Hitmontop, Excavalier, Whimsicott, Mega Houndoom, and Garbodor.
Alright.
So, this team has some pretty good bulk potential with the Nidoqueen, the Porygon 2, the Hitmontop, and the Reuniclus and the Mantine, and he has some pretty good rocks potential with the Nidoqueen and the Excavalier.
And
obviously
Hitmontop.
Garbodor gets Toxic Spikes.
And Sticky Webs from Galvantula, and, you know, on and on and on. This is a really solid team overall. The only thing it really would be lacking in is speed, and then it's kind of covered by the Sticky Web, if it can stay up. Of course, Nidoqueen's always going to hit really hard and tank some stuff up. Kieran Black's always going to wreck house and then, you know, tank some stuff back up because of its incredible stat pool, because, you know, they thought that was fine, you know, just giving it that much power and defense and etc. Intimidate from Hitmontop, close combat's going to hit. There's not too much redundant with this team besides the double poison typing, and everything kind of does its own thing, which is really strong. It's also got strong sweeping potential with the Calm Mind, Reuniclus, and Nasty Plot and Houndoom, which is, you know, fun.
Also, Trick Room's pretty good with the Kieran Black and the Nidoqueen being able to put in a huge dent.
If he does want to set up Trick Room.
Yeah. Okay, next up we have Utah Wheeze. They have Cresselia, Celesteela, Tentacruel, Tapulu, Mega Camerupt, Frostlass, Miltank, Salamence, Heracross, Lipard, and Electabuzz.
My issue with this team is its lack of speed. Outside of maybe a Dragon Dance Salamence, the only thing it really has to outspeed stuff would be Lipard and Frostlass, both of whom are pretty much not even a glass cannon, more like a glass, you know, plastic pistol.
However, he does have the Galord Mega Camerupt, who will be able to destroy everyone.
Absolutely. Can't limit. No matter what anyone says, Mega Camerupt is worth the 10 points that you paid for it. It's got
Definitely.
amazing stats, an amazing type, the best moves ever. I don't know. I can't. No, it's not good. Don't pick
Gavin's
it.
bulk is definitely pretty decent as well, with the Celesteela, Cresselia, Tentacruel, Intimidate support from the Salamence.
I think you. I don't think you mean
at the
decent. I
overhead
think you mean like
hits.
fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
there is not there. Like, the only thing that can kill his team would be maybe frickin' Belly Drum Azumarill, and that's if it doesn't get killed by the Woodhammer from a frickin' Tapu Bulu, which it will. It will die.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay.
Moving on, because that took far too long. Calgary Flamethrowers. I'm going to talk about the team this time. They have Komala, and also Leafeon, Regirock, Greninja, Crobat, Xurkitree, Slurpuff, Mamoswine, Blastoise, Infernape, and Latios, being, you know, one of the faster attacking mons. Really strong special attacking presence with Xurkitree, Latios, and Greninja. Really strong physical attacking presence with the Mamoswine and Infernape. Really, the only thing really lacking on this team would be Crobat does not count.
Okay. He does have some decent bulky offense with the Latios, the Blastoise, the Crobat. The only real ways he has of getting down rocks are the Kamala and the Crobat, which aren't and the Blastoise, which is pretty reliable. Even though his team isn't actually the weakest to rocks. And also he has some great priority options.
He still does kind of want to get good with rocks, though, just considering that you want your Slurpuff to be as healthy as possible, and taking chip damage on Latios and Blastoise, who really don't want to run recovery moves, isn't exactly, you know, ideal.
Yeah.
The only thing lacking for his team for me is, like, strict defensive bulk. You have Blastoise, a defensive Latios set, Regirock, and Leafeon. That's kind of it. Everything else doesn't really want to run tank full.
Yeah.
I mean, not even freaking Latios wants to really run full tank. And then Blastoise and Regirock don't have reliable recovery, meaning they have to rely on, a Wish Leafeon set, which isn't exactly a Leafeon set you want to be running.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so moving on, we have the Rotterdam Staraptors. Would you like to say this team?
I will say this team. He's got the Rotterdam Staraptors. Alright, go.
Okay, he's got Florges, Shaman. Oh god. He's got Hydreigon, Florges, Gengar, Shaman, Empoleon, Donphan, Dodrio, Salazzle, the Lord, Rhyperior, Zebstrika, and the Mega Gallade.
Can you jump around a bit some more, why don't you?
Yeah, I would definitely will. So he has some pretty decent speed options with the Salazzle, Mega Gallade, Gengar, which can all put in a huge offensive presence into the enemy team. He also has some very bulky options with the Florges, the Empoleon, the Rhyperior, and even the Shaman.
There's not too much to say with this team, just because it's all pretty well rounded. He doesn't duplicate types too much. He's got really good rock coverage with Empoleon and Donphan. Really good special options, decent physical options. Really only relying on Gallade, which isn't that bad considering Gallade with the Mega Evolution, just hits like a truck and then has 110 speed and outspeeds everything, punches it to death, takes a hit in return, and then continues punching.
Definitely, it's like a fast version of Mega Medicham.
Without, the pure power bullet punch nonsense.
Yeah.
Which is nonsense. Dallas Victory Stars, my personal favorite team because Victini is the best, which is why he didn't draft it. He drafted Torkoal instead.
Okay, so he has the Mega Sizzle, Milotic, Sylveon, Alakazam, Dragonite, Amoonguss, Yanmega, Torkoal, Shiftry, Rhydon, and Ambipom.
Ambipom being kind of a odd pick. You don't really see it in League all that often because it sets pretty predictable. It doesn't really change the fact that it does its job well. It's a fast physical attacker with Fake Out, and that builds up damage over time. It's also pretty good with a Focus Sash as well as Alakazam, and he does have a couple of ways. He has a couple ways to get rid of Stealth Rock. I'll keep talking at the same time as you. Every time.
Is even worth saying anymore. His setup options are really, really effective with the Mega Sizzle, the Dragonite, and even the Yanmega, which are all really good offensive threats with great priority moves such as the Bullet Punch and the Extreme Speed. Also, he has some decent bulk in the likes of the Milotic, the Amoonguss, and the Rhydon, which should all be able to take really good hits.
The only issue is that he's really kind of lacking a strictly physically defensive wall, Torkoal not being the greatest tank, considering it's weak to rocks and ground, two physical types that you really want to be able to tank. And Scizor kind of being want to run offensive. Rhydon is weak to ground, I think. Maybe it's not, I don't know. You'd have to run Eviolite on Rhydon, and that kind of locks it out. Which is kind of why I think he has the Wish Passing Sylveon, just to keep everything else healthy. Which is a good thing.
This may force him into using Wish Pass very often, which does use up 2 of his move slots with Wish and Protect. However, that shouldn't be too much of a problem since he does have some pretty decent special offense in the likes of Alakazam.
Having Wish also means he can run some more unusual sets. If he wants to run the slight chance that it works, he could run the frickin' Defiant Milotic. He could also run a more offensive Amoonguss, which Grass Poison being a really good type combination for offense, although people generally don't realize it. I mean, there's not too much that resists both Grass and Poison. The only one I can think would be Scizor, and he has Scizor.
Okay, so moving along, we have the Osaka Eevees, who have Victini, as you have just stated, is one of your favourite Pokemon. He also has the Garchomp, the Weavile, Togekiss, Araquanid, Heliolisk, Gothagrigus, Registeel, Sandslash, Virizion, and the Masquerain.
I mean, this is really well-rounded team in my opinion. He's got a special defensive mon, he's got a physical defensive mon, he's got another physical defensive mon, he's got a really tanky mon, he's got some fast stuff, he's got some powerful stuff, he's got some bugs.
He has some really, really, really effective fast offensive presence, such as the Weavile, the Virizion, and the Heliolisk, which can all put in a huge dent into the enemy team. He also has some great Volt Switch initiative, I think.
Yeah, Heliolisk gets Volt Switch, yeah.
Victini. Yes.
And Victini gets U-turn as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Volt Switch, Volt Turn Core, is that what it's called? Something along the lines. Yeah. Best analyst, no question. Something else that I really like about his team is that all 3 of his main walls, also, well, 4, I mean, if you're counting Araquanid, 5, if you're counting Red of Steel, which I'm not, have the potential to do a lot of damage with freaking lucky whatever crits from the Air Slash on Togekiss, and the Nightshade, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp on Cofagrigus, and, just Earthquakes from Sandslash. And, of course, Sandslash isn't exactly Donphan, but, it still has Rapid Spin and Stealth Rocks, and you got the Defog on Togekiss to give you Rock Control, which allows, Weavile to keep its Focus Sash if it wants, and the little bugs in the corners, and the Victini to not take 25% whenever they come in. 50%, I think, on Masquerain, actually.
Also, his team could be really effective with Sticky Webs with the likes of Victini and Garchomp, which really appreciate getting that speed up, as they can really pull in some work versus some walls.
Or, he just naturally outspeed everything with Weavile. And, Ice Crash. Manaphy City, he's got the Shadow Tag Gothitelle, as well as some other stuff, like, Toxapex, Hippopotamus, Tangrowth, Amalgo, Hoopa,
Mega Kangaskhan,
Noivern, Comfy, and Emblor. Yeah, Mega Kangaskhan, something that should be noted, it can only use as we're dubbing it, the Sumo moveset, which is Sun and Moon. I just now realize why it's called the Sumo moveset.
Because he's a sumo wrestler.
No,
anyway,
no,
guys,
it's because Sun and Moon.
That kid is Bob. He's sitting there pretty. He also has some great hazard control with the likes of Skarmory, and that Hippopotas over there is going to be really effective for getting up that sand, which none of his team benefits from because reasons.
I mean, I don't know. Skarmory could use a special defensive boost. Armaldo gets a special defensive boost. Speaking of Armaldo, both of his rock removers, besides Skarmory, are kind of niche, which isn't the best, but, I mean, you also consider the fact that Skarmory is one of the best physical defensive walls in the game, and, all of a sudden, yay. He is kind of lacking on, a huge special attacking side, like, physical attack. Obviously, you've got Emboar and Kangaskhan. Wyvern being his only real special attacker, and without, the best stat, I think it's 97 special attack. However, Gothitelle, with its trapping capability, can honestly pull a lot of wacky stuff. I know I've felt the pain of, a +4/+4 Gothitelle just kind of wrecking havoc. And, Hoopa's there. It's got some pretty impressive stats.
Alright, so let's move along. So, next up, we have the Philadelphia Flygons, which is a team which I personally really like. I really like Sand on this team. He has the Mega Alakazam, the Tyranitar, Excadrill, Buzzwole, Kyurem, Primarina, Rotom-Heat, Delmise, Stoutland, Haunter, and the Muk. So, this team's really effective. He has some great speed presence with the Stoutland and the Excadrill with Sandstream. Obviously, going to be putting a huge amount of work. And obviously that Alakazam, which is a great specially offensive Pokemon with an amazing speed stat. And it has some really great coverage with the likes of Shadow Ball, Psychic, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam, and
etc. Yeah, obviously he's got some great offensive potential. The thing I'm really missing here is a lot of defensive potential. All of his Sandmons are weak to fighting, as well as Kyurem, another big offensive threat. And Alakazam not really want to take a hit, leaves Primarina, Muk. Still plenty of options, Delmise as well, to take a Drain Punch or Close Combat or Focus Blast. But I mean, none of them are strictly walls outside of the Primarina. And I haven't really seen Primarina in use too much, just because new Gen 7, etc. But I feel like it's not the best, considering we put it at kind of a low point value. So I think it's going to be up to see how well he can utilize some of his bulky offensive mons and really kind of set up for a sweep being with the sand, or, just outright killing stuff with Mega Alakazam.
He definitely did want to use the Garbodor over the Muk, which would have helped him with hazard control. However, it was already sniped from him.
Moving on, we're gonna have the Denver Darmanitans now, sitting in the fire because they've got Heatran, and also 3 electric types, being Magnezone, Lantern, and that little lawnmower over there. Also having the Durant, Latias, Cryogonal, Alomomola, Nihilego, or however you pronounce that, Roserade, and Mega Pinsir. Speaking of Mega Pinsir, everything's gonna die because Mega Pinsir is insane. The issue is that everything on his team's gonna die because they're all electric type. Which, I mean, if 2 of them have, like, Levitate or whatever, it doesn't really matter. But, still, that's a lot of redundant type coverage. Not to mention he also has double grass type, and Cryogonal not exactly being useful.
I can confirm that only one of them gets Levitate. The other one is stuck to the ground, and it's going to die to an earthquake. That's one thing.
You know what else dies to an earthquake? Heatran.
Why did he get so many ground weaknesses? Something like a Mold Breaker Excadrill could decimate his team. Mold Breaker Haxorus, stuff like that. He doesn't really have the greatest reliable recovery with only the likes of Alomomola, which is probably going to be forced into using Wish Protect most weeks. And obviously the Latias, which is usually going to be wanting to run offensive instead of defensive. So that kind of forces it into more of a defensive role, which isn't the greatest for him.
If he has a good matchup with Alomomola, he could really wreak some havoc, just Wish passing into Heatran, Wish passing into Rotom, Wish passing into Lantern, Wish passing into Latias, Wish passing into Magnezone and Roserade, of course, as well. All of them having relatively decent defensive stats and also some good offensive stats. However, if he goes up against some of the powerful electric types, such as, let's just spitball here, Zapdos, or, an Electivire with Volt Absorb or something along the likes, that could just kind of Volt Switch in and out, there's not a whole lot he's going to be able to do because Alomomola can't come in safely and heal up the rest of his team, which is going to take the chip damage from the rocks that he can't get down because his only rock get rid of is Defog on Latias.
Yeah. So, ready to move on?
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Green Bay Palkias.
We have the Green Bay Palkias.
I just said that.
Tapu Koko, Mega Charizard Y, Starmie, Diggersby, Tyranitar, Combusken.
That's not Tyranitar.
Tauros, Tyrantrum, Combusken, Weezing, Tauros, Uxie, Mandibuzz, and Lurantis.
Yes, that is his name.
So, he has some decent hazard removal in the likes of Starmie and the Mandibuzz. They're quite reliable, however, obviously Mandibuzz does have that Rocks weakness, and obviously with Mega Charizard Y on the team, he is definitely gonna want to keep down those hazards on his side of the field.
The issue being, again, that Mandibuzz is the only real way to get rid of that, and it also takes 25% coming in. Something else that I don't really see with his team is a lot of team synergy. Like, they all kind of seem to do their own thing. Sorry, I forgot about Starmie, of course, again. I say again, but you all don't know about that. I didn't forget, Starmie can also get rid of rocks. But yeah, I don't see a lot of team synergy. His only real wall would be Mandibuzz and Uxie. And, Uxie has good defensive stats, but also no way of recovering. Mandibuzz, not exactly being, the strongest physical wall, just kind of doesn't do a whole lot, being forced in that physical wall. So, while he does have great offensive power and, great sweeping power, there isn't a lot to really fall back on if, he has a matchup where, Charizard Y doesn't exactly shine. Excuse the terrible pun. Sorry. Go hide in a corner now. Spanish team.
So, next up we do have the Real Deportivo.
Club.
Deportivo. Yeah, something like that. La Corina, which have...
Oh wait, no, I forgot you're supposed to roll the R. Please, roll the R.
La Corina.
La Corvina. Come on, roll the R. La Corvina.
Rosalina. Zapdos, Megalopony, Manaphy, Dragalge, Druddigon, Piloswine, Chandelure, Keldeo, Jirachi, Togetic, and the Mightyena.
Alrighty, excluding our terrible Spanish, this isn't a bad Spanish team. Mega Lopunny, of course, being the queen of, physical attacking, and having some good special mons to back that up, including but not limited to Zapdos and Manaphy. Manaphy, of course, having Tail Glow, perhaps the best setup move in the game, besides maybe Quiver Dance, and Zapdos just kind of spamming Volt Switch and Roost and Defog if it so chooses.
Yep, and he also has some great wall-breaking presence with the likes of Druddigon and even like the Jirachi, which can just flinch spam all over some defensive Pokemon.
The only thing that I kind of dislike about this team is its main form of recovery would be a Wish Pass from either Jirachi or Togetic. Togetic, of course, being forced to run Eviolite, meaning it's susceptible to knockoff and, just dying to Thunderbolts. And Jirachi kind of being stuck in the middle, where it wants to run offensive sets, but is also kind of forced into defensive because of its lackluster speed.
He also is very, very weak to hazards, with 3 Rock's weaknesses and only one way to remove them, and that way is also weak to the hazards.
And being forced into defog isn't exactly a good thing for Togetic, considering it generally has to run that Wish Pass as well. And that doesn't really leave it a whole lot of room to work with. Next up, I skipped one. Ignore that. Munchausen United.
We have Thundurus Firion, Mega Medicham, Arcanine, Suicune, Nidoking, Crocodile, Bronzong, Ribombee, Serena, Rotom Frost, and Kabutops.
This is definitely one of my favorite teams, just because it's we came up with the phrase. It was Jack of all trades, master of none. That was the phrase we came up with. A lot of his something like that. A lot of his mons can do multiple roles. Nidoking, of course, Nidoking has some of the best moves in the game, along with Sheer Force to back it up. Suicune can run offensive or defensive with Calm Mind. Rotom Frost can just kind of Volt Switch in and out, along with having the Blizzard, which, while unreliable, is an Ice-type move, and Ice-type is like one of the best offensive moves to have. Medicham, of course, being able to bullet punch its way through everything, and the rest of his team just kind of being, having a bunch of different roles.
He also doesn't have the greatest speed stat in the game, however he does have some really, really, really good priority options in the form of Fake Out and Bullet Punch on the Mega Medicham, Extreme Speed on the Arcanine,
and Aqua Jet on Kabutops, yeah.
Yeah.
So Crocodile is also really good for knockoff, just in case, so you can get rid of Scarfs that might allow his Thundurus Therian to outspeed some other stuff as well. And that is a set that he can run, Volt Switch Scarf or Volt Switch Specs Thundurus Therian, which would allow him to kind of rotate into some of his bulkier mons as well. So, Volt Switch also on the Rotom Frost, of course.
Okay, so moving along
to the one you definitely didn't see earlier.
Yep, we have the Allendale Arons, Arons. We have the Megalopony, Zapdos. That seems okay. Megalopony, Zapdos, Suicune, Clefable, Cobalion, the Dugtrio, Alolan Serena, Pukumuku, Rotom, and Munchlax.
Outside of those kind of niche mons near the top, his core mons are really, really strong. He's got Wish Pass from the Clefable, as well as some pretty tanky mons in Suicune, Cobalion, and Zapdos, all of whom also do a number on the offensive side with Scald and Volt Switch. And of course, Megalopony is just insane. Huge speed, huge attack, great coverage. And then Alolan Muck having one of the best type combinations, at least in my opinion, Poison Dark, not really being weak to too much.
I was thinking that seemed like deja vu, and that's because it actually is. It's the exact same start as one of the other teams had, the Zapdos Megalopony. Anyway, other than that, he has some really, really niche picks with the Dugtrio, the Pukumuku, and the Munchlax, which would definitely pick off the enemy off guard. And he could definitely trap some really big offensive threats with that Dugtrio. Also, he has some pretty decent speed control with the Lopunny, the Dugtrio, and the Cobalion, which can definitely outspeed lots of big offensive threats that the enemies might have. Also, he has some really good trapping potential with the Alolan Muck and the Dugtrio. Obviously, the Pursuit being able to trap stuff like Victini, Landorus, Firion,
I guess.
Not Landorus, Tornadus. Tornadus is what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Tornadus, Firion, and those sort of Pokemon.
Yeah. What it comes down to for me is how well is going to be able to utilize the Munchlax, Pukumuku, Dugtrio, and Rotom. They all have their purposes, and they all do what they do pretty well. It's just a matter of can they do what they do in League format when you don't have the ladder surprise of, oh, I didn't prep for that because, it's 1 in 100. Next up, we got the other Star Raptors team, the Scarborough Star Raptors. This one's going to have the Raikou, Lycanroc Midday, not Midnight, Mega Scizor, Pyroar, Golbat, Primarina, Kyurem, Tangrowth, Landorus, and Drapion Mesprit to top it off.
So this team's really good, and it has some really, really good Volt Switch potential with the Mesprit, the Landorus, Therian, the Raikou, the Golbat, the Mega Scizor. It can definitely Volt Switch all around the enemy team.
And U-turn.
Yeah, Volt turn.
That's the word, yeah. As well as some priority from Mega Scizor. Bullet Punch is a pretty good coverage move for this team, considering it's only Steel type. My issue comes down to its lack of, I want to say, straight bulk. It does have some good bulky offensive mons, being Mesprit, Raikou with an Assault Vest, perhaps, or Calm Mind. Landorus, of course, with Intimidate. Does it have Intimidate? Yeah, it has Intimidate. As well as Mega Scizor.
On the specially defensive side.
Yeah, the only straight special defensive mon would be Primarina, and judging from the fact that this is the only Primarina we've seen, isn't exactly what, the most prioritized.
Yep. Okay, next up we have Bob and the Atlanta Shocks, who have Garchomp, Tapu Fini, Weavile, Decidueye, Crobat, Arcanine, Magneton, Kecleon, Mega Gallade, Florwitzer, and Rhydon.
This is the other, what did you say it was? Was like Garchomp and Weavile was the combo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garchomp and Weavile.
Two very, very scary physical attackers.
Yeah.
Mega Gallade as well. Just punch everything to death.
Yeah. He definitely has some really good speed presence with the Crobat, the Mega Gallade, and the Weavile. Definitely being able to pick up some really fast kills on the enemy team. He also has some great bulky offensive presence with the Rhydon, the Garchomp, the Arcanine, Magneton, Crobat. Also, his team is very physically offensive. His only specially offensive Pokemon is actually Clawitzer. So that might be something which is going to bite him in the ass in future, but hopefully that'll be fine for him.
I would like to see him drop the Rhydon for something. I don't feel like the Rhydon really brings a lot to his team. He's already got kind of a bulky ground rock type move kind of character with the Garchomp. I don't really think that Rhydon really brings anything special. If he drops that and picks up, a decent special, maybe a bulky special mon, to kind of pair up with that Tapu Fini, I could really see his team doing a lot of work in the future.
I'm pretty sure the only reason it's there is really to get rocks up, because he might not want to bring rocks on Garchomp every week. But yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Next up, we got... Oh, nope, skipped again. Sorry. Next up, we got Miami Infernape. They have the Mamoswine, Amoonguss, Mega Gardevoir, Shuckle, Hitmonlee, Latias, Yanmega, Frogadier, Vaporeon, Incineroar, and the Silvally. With the RKS system, we are allowing that. Can change types.
So his team is very, very, very effective with the sticky webs, with Gardevoir, Mamoswine, Incineroar, very slow offensive threats with great move pools, which can just destroy enemy teams if he manages to get the sticky webs up. Also, Trick Room on Gardevoir is another option that you can do with his slower offensive threats.
This team, I think, definitely has a lot of synergy within itself. I don't think he repeats types, and he covers basically everything he needs to cover. However, none of his mons really stand out to me as, the big powerhouse 20-point mons like on the last team where, you had like Weavile and Garchomp. This team, the only one that really sticks out to me would be the Latias there floating in the center. So I think what it comes down to for me is how well can he utilize all the different mons that he has? Can he really use the Frogadier, Hitmonlee, and Yanmega and the RKS system and Silvally, or is it just kind of be like the same couple mons every week, which is going to end up being Vaporeon, Latias, and Mega, Gardevoir.
Yep.
Alright, now we got the one that I definitely didn't see earlier again. Chicago Caracosta. They got Tapu Koko, Keldeo, and Skeptouch on the left. On the right, they got that Victini, that big ol' face guy, Persian, Garbodor, Mismagius, Kabutops, Gligar, Registeel, and that big old bird called Tornadus.
So straight away when I see this team, I immediately think of U-turn, Volt Switch potential. As I've said a bunch, he does have the Tornadus, Therian, the Victini, the Tapu Koko, which are definitely going to be able to Volt Switch all over the enemy team and U-turn over.
He's got decent speed control as well, with the Tapu Koko and Therian, I believe, both being above 110, and then Sceptile, Keldeo, and Victini all having respectable speeds, as well as Mismagius. And if he does choose to bring Rain, I guess, maybe with Keldeo, Kabutops could also outspeed some stuff. The issue with this team is that he doesn't have a lot of reliable bulk to fall back on. There's no real designated special wall, his only physical wall really being Gligar.
Also, with his team being so weak to hazards, the only way of being able to remove hazards is actually with the Gligar, which is kind of worrying for me.
Yeah, Gligar doesn't really like to be forced into that move slot, especially considering it's already being forced into the Eviolite. That being said, Registeel does have a very large move pool, so if he can effectively use his offensive core, as well as kind of bring the right moveset on Registeel, he could wreak a lot of havoc.
Yep. So we can move right along to the Cincinnati Bengals. They have Kieran Black, Sylveon, Thundurus, Therian, Excadrill, Greninja, Buzzwole, Swellow, Cloyster, Gigalith, Linoon, and Abra. So this is a really nice Sand team, since with the Gigalith there, he saves a bunch of points which he didn't have to spend on something like Tyranitar. So instead he was able to get some big offensive threats in the form of Buzzwole, Kieran Black, even Thundurus Therian, which are going to be able to put in a huge amount of work, and being able to save all of those points on getting Gigalith, which is a very middling Pokemon with some great stats, has really helped him.
My issue with this team, and I've been saying this a lot, is I don't really see a whole lot of defense. It really kind of rests on the Sylveon Wish passing to something, and that something honestly is going to end up being Gigalith more than likely, just considering Buzzwole generally wants to be run offensive because it's got the great offensive stats. Excadrill, you want to run offensive. Kyurem, again, you want to run offensive. So, of course he's going to be forced into Wish Pass on the Sylveon, but what it comes down to for me, again, is how well is he going to be able to use that offensive Volt Turn core that he has with Abra, Swellow, Thundurus, and Greninja.
Yep.
And of course, also, just straight power from Kyurem.
His team is very, very weak to hazards with the Kieran Black, Thundurus, Swellow, Cloyster, all taking 25% on every switch in, which is going to really, really hurt him. So he needs to make sure that Excadrill is going to be able to get in down those hazards every single time.
And of course, Linoon not wanting to take chip damage for its big old belly drum extreme speed set. And, the occasional Focus Sash Greninja set you might see.
Yep.
Alright, let's uncover it for the Bengals. Next up, we have the Orlando Mudkip. Bolstering the Mega Altaria, Vikavolt, Weezing, Celebi, down to the Porygon Z, Honchkrow, Miltank, Doublade, Donphan, Gyarados, and Infernape.
Yeah, so this team is very, very fast and offensive with the Vikavolt, the Porygon Z, and the Infernape, all bolstering very, very big speed and offensive stats, included with the Gyarados and the Altaria, which are going to be wanting to run stuff like Dragon Dance, which is going to really, really help them and enable a setup sweep for those two Pokemon.
What it comes down to for me, I keep saying this line, goddammit, he doesn't really have a lot of speed control, nothing being above 110 unless he gets a speed boot, like, a Scarf on something, or a Dragon Dance on Altaria. And while he does have good hazard control and some decent bulk in the, Intimidate or Miltank, it's not a lot of way to get that into the offensive pressure. He does have U-turn on Infernape, but you don't always want to run that because sometimes you want to run, the Flare Blitz, Overheat, Close Combat, Fake Out, knock off all its other coverage moves. And that U-turn on Honchkrow, of course, but then you also want to run the Swords Dance, Sucker Punch, whatever else it has on its set. Defog, perhaps? I don't know. And
I
then
also feel like Donphan is going to be very, very pressured into bringing Rapid Spin every single week, since he has the Honchkrow, Gyarados, Altaria before it Mega Evolves. They're all very, very weak Pokemon to rock, so he's definitely going to be wanting to keep those rocks down.
And Donphan does generally want to run Rapid Spin, but on his team that might be a particular issue just because of all the great coverage that Donphan brings that nothing else really has. I believe he's one of the only Mons on his team with Earthquake, and Ice Shard, of course, is pretty much his only Ice-type coverage.
Yeah. So, we get ready to move along?
On to the Chicago Bouffalants.
So...
Another Chicago team.
Portland Typhlosions.
Nope, Chicago Bouffalants. Don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so moving on to the Chicago Bouffalants, they have Mega Kangaskhan, Zygarde 50%, Celesteela, Mincheo, Alomomola, Whimsicott, Sandslash, Gengar, Skuntank, Crustle, and Electabuzz.
This team is a hodgepodge of power and defense and huge mess. We can talk about the big powerful mons first, I guess. Kangaskhan and Celesteela, of course. Kangaskhan being recently unbanned, and Celesteela, of course, being a big old Ultra Beast, big old defensive stats, good moveset, and, you know, big old stats. And then you got the lower end being Crustle, Electabuzz, and Skuntank. Not the best stats, not the best movesets, not the best types.
However, stuff like the Sandslash and Skuntank do bring very, very vital hazard removal to his team, which otherwise he would be lacking.
It kind of comes down to how well can he use those niche mons. Sandslash, of course, being kind of a discount Donphan, Skuntank not exactly doing much besides that kind of knockoff Defog. And if you can find uses for those other than, you know, their standard Defog Rapid Spin, as well as use the Whimsicott and Alomomola besides just for wish passing, whatever Whimsicott does in League, then I think he's got some real potential. It's just
also the Crustle
Shell Smash, of course.
Yeah, the Crustle might not do a lot every single week. However, if he brings a vital set like Shell Smash in a certain week, he might be able to put in a huge amount of work and even be able to pick up 6 this week.
Alright, now on to the Portland Typhlosions.
They
Team's is getting
Skarmory,
over anxious.
Zoomeril, Goodra, Delmise, Electivire, Espeon, Rhyperior, Toxicroak, Mega Houndoom, Staraptor, and Licky Licky.
Something to note here. First time we're seeing Electivire, but we did see 2 Electabuzz. Interesting.
Yes.
Not something you'd think. Alright, this team, it's got some pretty good synergy within itself. A lot of good physical moves, a lot of good special moves, some decent walls, some decent U-turn, and Volt Switch. And a lot of power, especially coming from that Azumarill.
Definitely.
And,
obviously he has the Espeon and the Mega Houndoom, which are going to be his speedy Pokemon of choice. He has the middling speedy-ish Pokemon, such as the Staraptor and the Azumarill. Obviously the Azumarill having that huge belly drum offensive capability.
That huge belly.
Yeah.
Azumarill's been packing on the pounds.
Yeah.
It's ready to tank some stuff and then get rid of it to absolutely obliterate your team.
Yes, with obviously the Aquajet. He has decent bulky potential with the Rhyperior, Delmise, Goodra, and obviously the Skarmory is there to pack that that hazard control.
Yeah, my only issue with his team being that some of those Pokemons listed don't have their own ways of recovering, doesn't have a Wish Passer, so he does have to kind of keep an eye on the health of that Rhyperior, keep an eye on the health of that Goodra, as it can get whittled down pretty easily, especially to tanking too many moves that they don't resist. But
yeah, Licky is going to be vital for keeping those Pokemon healthy with the Wish support.
So if he can hold on to that, I should give him enough time to really get out to a point where Toxicroak, Delmise, Azumarill, Electivire, Staraptor, Houndoom, all his offensive mons can really get to the point where they can just kind of clean up. Alright, next up we're going to move on to Waluigi's Warband, hanging out in the dank Mario Cave, brought to you by Wah.
Yes, so he
Read
has
off the team, Blaze.
Heatran, Mega Manectric, Tentacruel, Guzzlord, Chansey, Ribombee, Kartana, Araquanid, Latios, Seviper, and Parasect. So the team is pretty offensive with some fast threats such as Latios, the Manectric, Rabombi, and Kartana, which each have really good speedy stats. And it seems like his team is going to be very hyper-offensive with a Chansey there just to soak up some specially offensive hits.
Heatran and Guzzlord also having decent attack stats as well as Araquanid. Something that I think should be brought to note is that while he does have those great offensive powerhouses and great middle tier mons, the lower tiers aren't so great. I'm interested to see if he can actually make use of Rabombi, Seviper, and Parasect, or if they're just there to soak up some low points so he can have those double Ultra Beasts as well as Latios.
Yep. So ready to move along?
Enough about Waluigi, now we're on to the Bristol City Banets, one of my favorite logos. And also a pretty decent team. He's got the Mega Charizard X, that's the name, as well as Xurkitree, Almaldo, Jirachi, Chestnut, Slowbro, Haunter, Heliolisk, Togedemaru, Glaceon, and ending it with the Alolan Raticate, that fat little butt. Fat rat. Anything to say?
So this team is pretty weak to rocks.
As well as Earthquake.
Yep. Since its only way of getting the hazards down is the Armaldo, which is actually weak to rocks itself. And with the Charizard there, it really needs a very effective Rapid Spinner / Defogger there to make sure that those rocks do not stay up, hurting the Charizard every single switch in.
The other thing it's kind of missing would be a especially defensive wall. Chestnut and Slowbro both being physical, and Jirachi not really wanting to invest too much in a defense so it can use its Iron Head, Zen Headbutt bullshit. And that kind of leaves Armaldo in kind of a rough spot, considering he doesn't have the best defenses. His team is also pretty Earthquake weak, with both of his physical defensive walls being able to take it, but everything else kind of not wanting to stay in too much. So,
yeah.
If he can get to the point where, he can control the hazards well enough to really abuse Mega Charizard X and Volt Switch from Heliolisk without taking too much chip damage, then he could potentially get, a late game Scarf Sweep from Xurkitree, or just some Jirachi garbage. I don't know, I don't like Jirachi.
So, last but not least, we do have
no, it's least.
Newcastle Mets with Tapu Bulu, Manaphy, Scolipede, Entei, Hitmontop, Electros, Sneasel, Aerodactyl, Metagross,
and a Pancake.
And Mega Garchomp.
Well, I forgot about Mega Garchomp.
In my opinion, it's a pretty lackluster Mega. It doesn't really bring too much to the table. However, you have some more stuff to say about that.
I mean, Mega Garchomp does its own thing in its own right. I mean, it doesn't outspeed much, does a lot of damage. My issue with it on this team is that he kind of already has that covered with the Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu being tankier, having pretty much equivalent coverage, not, not the same coverage, but, in terms of the coverage you want, equal coverage. While I love the Pancake, I don't see a point for it on this team. He's already got the ground type, he's already got the electric type, and it doesn't really bring anything he wants. I would have liked to see him pick up something a little bit more along the lines of a specified wall. His only really bulk at this point would mainly come from the Hitmontop, I guess, maybe the Bulu, and you don't exactly want to run those mono defensive.
Also, he may be pressured to bring Hitmontop pretty much every single week, since it's his most effective way to get hazards down, since you're not really going to be wanting to bring Defog Aerodactyl.
Yeah, and you do want Sneasel to keep a Focus Sash if you have it, Entei to be able to switch in and tank some hits for you, and Electros and Manaphy to not get whittled down.
Yeah. So, I think that's everyone.
Yeah, we went over all the teams. So that's just going to be a draft recap and a chance for us to organize our thoughts as analysts. And hopefully soon we'll see the actual official post-draft preseason power rankings.
So my name's been Blaze, this has been Damon, and we are signing off.
Wait, your name's Ben Blaze? What are you changing it to? Oh, you're changing it to Live Scoring, I forgot. Alright, see ya.